My husband lied to me to make himself look like a better man.
That's my quip. Just a thumbs down.
I, 25 female, have been married to my husband, 26 male, for 3 years. He has 2 male friends from a job he used to work at who are both also married. Let's call them Holden and Cameron. By the way, this comes from Expensive House 323 on the r/TwoHotTakes subreddit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, he has been friends with them for around 2 years, and since then we have all moved to different states. These are friends that he has had over for adult sodas, here and there, but mainly they like to call, text, and play video games on some weekends. I personally do not like Cameron. This is because he isn't respectful of his wife. They all used to have a female coworker that Cameron would constantly hit on and try to ask out. He would tell my husband how much he wanted to sleep with her, despite him having a wife and daughter at home. I told my husband he should let the wife know, but neither of us had her contact information as we had never met her in person. When he moved to a different state, his wife stayed behind since it was only going to be training for a few months, and that's when things got worse with him. Cameron had informed both my husband and Holden that he had told his wife he wanted a divorce and did not want to have any custody of his child. Yikes. This turned out not to be true, as his wife had no idea he was planning on leaving her, and instead he had been ghosting his wife, not responding to any calls or texts for weeks. I was not shy about my dislike for Cameron and did tell my husband that he was no longer welcome in my home and that I was no longer comfortable with them hanging out together, which my husband was just fine with since they really didn't hang out much to begin with. They would still occasionally play games online together and text on a group chat that a lot of their old coworkers still had. Holden had also told us that Cameron had gotten on dating apps and began sleeping around with multiple women. He even went as far as to send Holden a video of him having a ménage à trois. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. Holden felt disgusted that he was sent this video without consent, and his wife was livid, understandably so. After this, Holden decided to drop Cameron and go no contact, no confrontation or anything.
Okay. All right, Holden.
Ghosting him like Cameron was doing to his wife.
Dang. A little crazy. A little crazy.
I don't think those two are the same. I feel like OP's trying to create comparison. I don't think those two are the same.
I don't know if they were trying to create a comparison so much as just like a zinger.
Oh,
You
like
know?
Cameron. Yeah, I see. Could be. Yesterday, I had asked my husband if he was still talking to Cameron, and he informed me that he was not. He went on and on about how Cameron hadn't even reached out to him because he made himself clear about how he was not okay with what Cameron was doing to his marriage and all the heck he was putting his wife through. He said he had more of a spine than Holden did, since Holden wouldn't even inform Cameron that they were no longer friends.
Dang.
I don't think you need...
We didn't need to throw shade on Holden.
If your friend sends you just a super explicit, disgusting video, I don't think you need to be like, hey, dude, that wasn't cool. We're not friends anymore. I think you can just drop him.
Yeah. Well, plus, and like we were saying,
Yeah.
if this is in fact the lie, it feels like he's starting to do too much about being like, and Holden was a cow.
Yeah. Coward.
Unlike me.
I'm a real man. Today, my husband gets a call from Cameron. The call was nothing important in particular, but what really threw me was how Cameron was not acting like anything was different between my husband and him. Maybe because nothing is different. He mentioned that Holden hasn't spoken to him in 2 weeks, and then the call pretty much ended there. I then asked my husband if him and Cameron still talked, and he admitted that they still do here and there. I felt hurt. To be clear, I did not care if my husband was talking to Cameron. I wasn't the biggest fan of the idea, but he's an adult, and as long as he wasn't hanging out with him, that was good by me. However, the fact that he put on a big show about how he was more of a man than Holden because he stood on business when Holden wasn't willing to, and that Cameron felt too embarrassed to even reach out to my husband because he knows my husband's standards, only to actually be talking to him and not ever telling Cameron that he has issues with what he's doing in his marriage. It felt like such a sham.
Yeah.
I got upset and told him he was all bark and no bite, and that at least Holden actually stood on business because he at least followed through with what he said he was going to do. And that for this, I respected Holden more than him. Ooh, that's going to really get to OP's husband.
It's fair, though. It's also at this point that I'd like to point out my earlier quip of haven't we all been there? I have not been here. When I said I lied to make myself look like a better man, that's like, yeah, I'm good at bowling. And then I absolutely just am ruined on the lane.
Yeah,
none of this.
That you have stayed friends with a gross, dirty...
I said, yeah, I've read Pride and Prejudice.
This really upset my husband. He said he didn't like that I insinuated that he wasn't a man of honor, Q Hamilton, and that he felt emasculated with that statement. It's just going to be say no to this on repeat.
I don't know. Maybe you should have been a man of honor.
Yeah.
If you want to be called a man of honor,
maybe you should have been one.
You kind of have to act honorably.
That's kind of the first step. He told me that if I respect Holden so much, that I should go and F Holden then. Which is not something my husband has ever said to me, and it really hurt that it went there. I think I may have been too harsh with what I said.
No.
But I don't appreciate being lied to or being talked to like that. He is still hurt by the statement that I made, and now I don't know what to do. I don't like feeling like my husband is condoning this behavior from his friend. He is. But what really bothers me is him trying to make himself look good and putting down his other friend when he wasn't telling the truth about the situation. So what do I do from here? And am I the a-hole? There is an update, folks. But what?
I go to my second quip, which
Yes.
I stand by, which is
big old thumbs down.
big old thumbs down.
For all our podcast listeners. Riley just
oh my
hit
God.
a big old thumbs down.
I forgot.
I think OP is a little bit too chill about the fact that he's even talking to this guy.
Yeah, this is bad.
This is bad. Like,
Not
this is
the
guy who-
a-hole.
Yeah. No.
It's pretty clear as the a-hole here.
Very clear. Very clear. I just think that you need to have that conversation with your husband and say, hey, it doesn't look great for you that you're still talking to a guy who's actively cheating on his wife. Don't want to tell his wife about this. Because, I mean, honestly, he probably could get the wife's contact information if he really wanted to.
I'm going to say it. I'm going to hit the breakup button.
I'm
gonna
wow.
I think especially after when he's like, why don't you go marry Holden then?
Yeah.
Except in more crass terms.
Mhm. You're
I
done.
don't like that.
I don't like that.
I don't like
one
that.
bit. They are married.
I'm sending her to Australia to get married to the Australian couple. now.
Right.
I'm sort of playing matchmaker now with these. Is
We're
what I'm
swapping
doing. Is
them
I'm going to
around.
pick all of the wives
Yeah.
out. Because that's usually the people
Yeah.
who I think can work it out.
Yeah.
And I'm
sure.
just going to have them get married
Yeah,
instead.
in Australia. To answer some questions and things I saw in the comments, Holden and Cameron were friends with each other for a few years before my husband met either of them. Holden was the closest with Cameron, and my husband was closer to Holden than he was to Cameron. I've only met Cameron twice, both briefly when he came over to our house for some adult sodas and video games. My husband has never hung out with him outside of work besides that, and when they would go to work out at the gym that their work had. Neither my husband or I had Cameron's wife's information. I did try to find her on multiple social media platforms, but her name is very common. And since I have never seen her before, it was hard to locate her. My husband does not have any social media besides YouTube. I do want to preface that I have never told my husband that I did not want him texting Cameron. Was I a fan of the idea? No. But he's an adult and free to make his own choices, and so I never even had asked him to. I did, however, say that Cameron was no longer welcome in my home. My husband saw no issue with this and agreed. This is something that is not really a factor for us anymore. Anyways, since we have moved away, so they never see each other in person and haven't for months. My issue was the fact that he had lied to me about not talking to Cameron and went to bash his other friend when there wasn't any truth behind that, not the fact that he was messaging Cameron. Now, for the update. My husband and I did sit down and talk with each other earlier today, and while I feel like we both have a bit more we need to discuss and work on, I feel like we are making a good start with things. Okay, I think easy solution, we get this guy more friends.
I'm deeply skeptical.
Me too. I think he just doesn't have enough friends.
skeptical.
I think he's only got 2 friends.
I mean, with the way that he's acting, I just can't get over then. Well, then you should go F Holden.
That's
I
crazy.
can't let go of that. Any update?
I think
I'm
OP's
just
let
like-
go of it too quickly.
Yes, agreed.
I apologized for comparing him to Holden and for not being mature in how I discussed my anger. I also apologized for saying I respected his friend more than him in the moment because I really do have a lot of respect for my husband and have always thought highly of him. I am not someone who likes to discuss things when my emotions are high, and that got the better of me. It is something I am going to be a lot more conscious of from here on out and really try to work on. He apologized for making things seem one way when that wasn't really the truth. He did say that he had told Cameron that he did not like hearing about all of his escapades, trying to live a single life while still married, and that Cameron had stopped messaging him about that specifically. So that's totally different than calling your friend out for doing that. You just told him you don't want to hear about it. You're the military right now. And you just said, don't ask, don't tell.
I'm going to send all of these people to the
Yeah.
woodworking Reddit.
Yeah.
I think that's really.
I think they.
I'm gonna go to a cabin in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to anybody.
Build a
Woodwork
cabin.
for a year. Come back a better man.
I like it. I like it. That's the only true way that you become a better man. But he did admit that he never went further than that, such as telling him that he wasn't wanting to have friendship, a game with him, etc., and that they were still occasionally messaging about other things. He also apologized for the "go F Holden" comment and said that he did feel emasculated because he has been struggling because he thinks his testosterone levels are lower than he wants them to be. Both his dad and brother have low testosterone. He said he has been wrestling with the idea that he has low testosterone for months now and how he feels like he's less of a man because of it.
This is what I mean. This is what I said about all the other stories too, is that these all sort of devolve into being like, let me give you 6 million specifics and situations and ideas. So it's like,
that makes no sense. A couple months ago, he started thinking about his testosterone levels. He's like, I don't know, they just feel low. I haven't actually gone to the doctors about this, but I don't know.
I just love how every update, it's like the first part is always like, oh, like Mother's Day didn't go out planned. And by the third update, we're like, well, so he grew up on a farm. Yeah. And what you really have to consider is that there's always
there's layers, man. There's layers. For some context there, he fits all the symptoms for it. Our spicy sleep life has been a lot less than it used to be. He's tired all the time. He's been pretty irritable, etc. I told him that there was nothing to be embarrassed about and how it doesn't make him less of a man and to go to speak to a doctor to try and talk through it and figure out a route to take, and I'll support him. I did say that while I want to be there for him and that I do think he's a man, that doesn't excuse the comment that he made. How it's not okay to speak to his wife that way. And if he wants to feel like a man, he does also need to act like a man and be honest in all aspects of his life, both with me and his friendships. He did give me his phone and let me look through their past conversations because I mentioned I felt weird about the video, the spicy video. Their messages were pretty dry, mainly talking about music and old coworkers. But while I did not find that video anywhere, I did find a group chat with the 3 of them from about a month ago where Cameron had sent Holden and my husband some partially unclothed pictures of a woman he was seeing. This upset me. I found it really disturbing and disrespectful that Cameron had sent this to them and that neither Holden or my husband said anything. They just carried on with the conversation like nothing had happened. And I feel like the fact that none of them are acknowledging it feels like they probably have done it before.
Like, you gotta put your foot down.
You gotta. When I confronted my husband on this, he just said he ignored the photo and they moved on. That's not how that works. By the way, you should never move on from full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit left to this story, but any thoughts on what OP should do in this situation?
Break up.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
I mean, they are married, so it would be divorce. I do think you guys need to go to therapy because it is pretty concerning that he doesn't see any problems with this. Like, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who thinks this is okay to, 1, not tell you about, and 2, also just okay that, like, he's being sent this and not putting any boundaries up.
I just don't like this dude.
I don't like
divorce.
him.
Sign
like
the papers.
Gone. This is something I am still kind of struggling with. Do men send their friends, especially married friends, noodles or videos of women they're seeing? No, they shouldn't be. I don't like that I felt brushed off when I addressed that to him, but I am so tired of feeling crazy. I don't like to look through his phone or feel like I'm obsessing over his friendships. That has never been who I am, and I feel like I'm turning into someone who is and who overthinks, and it's honestly crazy. And folks, that's the end of that story. My husband wants to cancel our wedding for the 3rd time now.
3rd time's the charm. Maybe this time it works.
I, 29 female, got engaged to my current husband, 28 male, back in 2019. We've been together 6 going on 7 years. So we have been together 6 going on 7 years. I was also pregnant with our first child. We planned for a 2020 November wedding when our daughter was 11 months old. Oof.
Yeah.
This plan unfortunately fell to pieces because of the pandemic. The state borders were shut and most of my friends and family lived interstate. So about half of the wedding couldn't attend, including my parents, sister, and bridesmaids. By the way, this comes from throwaway 2579542289. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we had to make the heartbreaking decision to postpone the wedding. We didn't want to lose everything and we had our heart set on the date. So we decided to elope with only 4 guests, a celebrant, and photographer. This was all discussed prior and was always going to be a placeholder for our real wedding. We rebooked our wedding 11 months later, and lo and behold, the vid restrictions shut down our town again. Just terrible effing luck. But life goes on. We had been holding off on trying to have a second baby for this wedding, and it was becoming depressing planning something that kept being canceled. So we decided to postpone again without another wedding date in mind and started trying for a baby right away. Fast forward a couple of years and we've welcomed our third child in June 2024. Congrats. Now our family is complete and we are in a good place. It's time to rebook our wedding. I kept him in the loop about my intentions and plans and always asked him along the way what he thought and if he was okay with that. Some info, we've already had most things we needed. Wedding dress, accessories, suits for him and the groomsmen, bridesmaid dresses. It's all been ready to go, sitting in a closet collecting dust. How sad. So about 3 months ago, after speaking to him first, I rebooked the venue and paid $1,000 deposit. All was fine and I finally felt I could get excited again. I sent out save the dates and it's booked for more than 12 months away. I've told all my friends and family and the excitement of getting to have our special day has been building. No, not the excitement. The wedding is booked on our 5-year elopement anniversary in November 2025, which I think 5 years is well and truly long enough. Well, last night, husband dropped the bomb that he wants to postpone the wedding again. This time, he wants to wait and postpone for another 5 years, which would bring us to the year 2030. Why? He's like, I just think a 10-year anniversary is better.
At this point, he's become addicted to
to postpone.
I just love that postponing a wedding feeling.
I'm so beyond devastated and heartbroken that he would even suggest this. Further info, my parents are contributing $10,000 and I'm contributing $10,000 and my husband has contributed $2,000. It was always the plan to elope and have our redo wedding at a later time. And now he's saying it's a waste of money and we're already married. He's only paying $2,000. That's it. He's like, it's just too much money. You're paying way more than him. I never would have agreed to the elopement if I knew that's how he felt. I've given him every opportunity to speak up about what he wants in the wedding, and he always seems indifferent and hasn't had any objections. So this has completely blindsided me. I don't know where to go from here. Marriage and wedding were a non-negotiable for me. If I agreed to postpone to the year 2030, then what's to stop him from saying, well, it's been 10 years. What's the point now? He's definitely going to do that. We've barely spoken today. My eldest child has some intuition despite the entire conversation taking place while she slept last night.
She had a prophetic dream.
She did. She asked to see my wedding shoes and I burst into tears.
Okay.
Mommy, why are you sad?
I do believe her that her child had some intuition.
Yeah.
It's also, I love, my child is so intuitive. She just knew.
Yeah.
After I burst into tears, it's like she knew something was wrong.
How did she know? She's so in touch with my emotions. I birthed 3 of his children. I should get to be a bride and have a special day that we've been planning for 5 years. You should, but you paid $1,000.
That's really my thing. And she brought it up and she's like, he has had so many opportunities. Yes. Like there has been so much time to talk about this. Yeah. And like, cause I even like, to some extent, I understand that reaction of like, well, we've already gotten like married. Like if you're a person where that's the important thing, that like, oh, well, we are married. I can understand how after years that expense and that event might not feel as exciting anymore.
Yeah.
You had so much time.
Could have said,
hey, to talk about that.
I don't really want to do this. Edit. Some people are still confused. We are legally married and we live in Australia. This is a price for a modest wedding and certainly nothing too grand. I was always happy to compromise on price and gave him time to decide on how big the guest list is and which venue to book. He's always had a say and I've always been willing to meet him in the middle. His indifference just meant that I chose what I wanted and he never spoke up otherwise.
Yeah.
Comments. Comment 1, he doesn't want to do it. Maybe he doesn't. Perhaps he was always going along with a plan to keep me happy, but now he's seen an out. I have no idea. His response was, guys don't dream about their weddings like girls do. Reply, maybe that's your angle. What is it he dreams about? How would he feel if you agreed to support his dream and then rug pulled him on it? Reply, she already compromised and meanwhile had 3 of his children. The least he can do is celebrate her for it and give her the wedding she deserves. If he backs out now, he's just a butt that was leading her on all along. And he simply doesn't deserve a wife. OP, he just spent upwards of $6,000 on his dream when I would have loved him to contribute more towards the wedding. But I chose to support his dream and not say anything. What's his dream?
Yeah.
Comment 2, why does he really want to postpone? Sounds like all he needs to do is turn up to the party in order to make you happy.
Because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because if he's like, we're already married, we don't need to get, like,
Yeah.
why postpone it? Because your wife has said it's happened.
Yeah.
Like, and I
One way or
think
another.
that that's understandable. If that's what she wants and that's been said, then I think we're fine. So what is the point of postponing it?
Nothing. He just wants to postpone it until she forgets. Bit odd if he can't be bothered to do that for you. He may not be fussed about it, but you are. However, you are actually married. You want a party for the whole experience, and I get that. But please separate wedding reception from marriage because you already have a marriage. Your relationship deserves to be celebrated if it's important for you to experience this. So what's his reason for the delay when it's actually changing nothing? Just money? Because if so, he actually wants to cancel, not postpone. OP, yes, all you have to do is show up. My parents and myself are paying for the majority of it, and I'm planning it all. I absolutely feel married, but I also feel I've been robbed of a special time because of the pandemic. I deserve to be a bride. He just thinks the money could be better spent for an investment property or something. But my parents and I have saved for this occasion, not him. We own a home, so if buying a second property gets put off for a year or two, then what's the harm? And there is an update. Little Burb says the man is 100% cheating. Whoa! Little Burb, we have no proof of this.
Little Burb said, I was in Peru and I saw.
I was birding in Peru.
I was birding in Peru.
But there is an update. I do think, OP, you gotta sit your husband down and say, hey, baby girl.
Exactly like that. Do you want to pretend that I'm the husband?
Hey, baby girl.
Hello.
I need that wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're already married, and I've loved these past 5 years with you.
I'm going to stop you really quick.
Okay,
we are Australian.
Oh,
so just remember that.
I really loved you, and I really loved these past 5 years with you. But I just really need this marriage.
Right? I'm going to stop you. A second house. Consider a second house. We're putting all this money into the wedding. We're already. I
can afford a second house.
I love you.
All right. That's all right then. Update. I have taken some advice and written a 2-page letter to my husband, explaining all my hopes and dreams, and that a wedding was part of the dream, and something I'm not willing to compromise on. Perhaps, like someone suggested, we call it an anniversary party. I told him I'm willing to wait until 2030, but he will be the one to cancel the venue, and he will be the one to tell our friends and family. I won't be part of that humiliation.
No, that's a fair point. Oh my God.
I also said I need assurances that you won't pull the rug from under me again. I'm really at a loss that he could hurt me this way. He knew how deeply important it was to me. I'll update again after he reads the letter. It's been a few days before we were able to talk. We had a really nice talk and we were both communicating really well. Because husband is not the best communicator, he doesn't talk to me and tell me his inner struggles. He's been very stressed with the business and I didn't realize it was making him feel like he was drowning. I think just having a high-stress business with employees and then 3 little kids was just getting to be a lot. Then he had his wife planning a wedding on top of it and I think he just... I do see now how I've added to his stress. I have told him he needs to speak up more and learn to communicate better. We've been together nearly 7 years. He also said he hates being the center of attention.
And you can tell they're Australian because there's that E at the end.
Yeah, the sinna. And has never had any care that it's his birthday. He said he would have preferred a small ceremony under 20 people. I said that I was always okay with that. But you didn't ever communicate it to me, and I'm not a mind reader. I've also communicated to him the importance of the special day that was promised. I had my heart set on it, and that feeling is never going to go away. Because he's been so negative about this wedding this time around, I don't feel like I want to stand up there in a gown with someone who doesn't want to be up there with me.
Okay, I'm a little bit scared. I'm getting scared again.
I want to give him time to get excited about it. But you know what I'm excited about? You guys listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts?
I got a little bit scared at the end.
Little
when she was like,
I don't know if I want to be up there with him.
I get where she's coming from. That she's like, this has been a negative experience. I want to wait for the next one.
Sure.
It's not 2030 yet.
No.
So I don't know what this new update
Exactly.
is.
I wrote letters to my exes after breakups. It helped to get all my feelings out. Never gave them to anybody, but it did help me process feelings.
Slay.
Look at you. Yeah, there is a little bit left. I think that OP, just keep having those conversations. Tell your husband that if he ever has any feelings that will effectively lose you $1,000, bring them up before we spend that $1,000. But there is a little bit left. I don't want to add any more stress to his life, but I still want to work towards our special day. I think for next year, instead, maybe we could do a family photo shoot for our 5-year wedding anniversary. And then in 2030, we can have our 10-year anniversary vow renewal and reception. And I get to wear a wedding gown. And I get to be a bride. Finally. I'll be about 35 years old, so not out of the question. I think I'm just accepting that the pandemic ruined a lot of special times for people. I'm disappointed that he's not excited to have this special day with me, but I'm accepting that it's not meant to be next year. Update 3, no! Now he's backpedaling and saying it's next year or never.
Okay.
We gotta, okay, get that deposit back. Get people going.
Cutting back to my face just deeply.
Okay. But now I don't want to. Whoa, girl! He doesn't want to and uses the words, let's get it over with. This is meant to be fun. This is not fun. I am so confused. I'm confused too, girl. But there is nothing more to that story, so we really don't know what's going on.
And that was the update.
I refuse to plan anything for Father's Day because my Mother's Day was ruined.
Okay. All right. A little bit of revenge.
I'm 98.7% sure that I am not the a-hole here. But if I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it and learn from my mistakes. Our little boy will be 1 late this summer. So this was the first Mother's Day and Father's Day for both me and my husband. By the way, this comes from Counter Necessary 2597. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So my husband asked what I wanted for Mother's Day. I didn't want or need anything big or expensive. What I asked for is 1, for husband to get up with the little guy and get him fed while I pumped and chilled. 2, breakfast in bed, just toast, scrambled eggs, a little coffee. For us to take the little guy to the zoo for the first time. This was the main thing I was looking forward to. Go to my favorite taco place for dinner. And then between morning and afternoon naps, we have about 4 hours of awake time. The zoo is about 30 minutes away, so I had figured if we left as soon as he got up from his nap and ate, we'd have a couple hours at the zoo, and worst case, he could sleep in the car on the way home. They're never going to the zoo.
Yeah.
We took my mom and my mother-in-law out to brunch the prior weekend to celebrate them. His mom on Saturday and my mom on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I also got them each a thoughtful little present and flowers to celebrate their first Mother's Day as grandparents. I arranged everything and told my mom and mother-in-law that we'd be celebrating on the actual day with just our little family and sent them a group chat, which included husband, my dad, and father-in-law, just to make sure everyone was on the same page. My mother-in-law is very pushy and overbearing, so I didn't want there to be any surprises or confusion. The Saturday before Mother's Day, father-in-law sent my husband a text with a picture of all the mulch he had just delivered and said something like, "It's gonna be a busy weekend," or something like that. Apparently, he had 300 bags of mulch. They have a big yard with lots of flower beds. That night, my mother-in-law called my husband and asked him to come over first thing in the morning to help his dad move the bags of mulch to where they were going to be used. She said, since we weren't going to the zoo until after the little guy's nap, that husband could go over and help out for a couple hours and then come pick us up to go to the zoo. I was obviously not happy, but she guilted him and said father-in-law was going to end up hurting himself if he moved all of that by himself, and that it's not a big deal and should only take an hour or 2.
Listen, I'll just tell you right now, a mulch hour is not equivalent to a real life hour.
Do you work with a lot of mulch in the woodworking?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
But I just feel like you're working with mulch for 2 hours. That's a 6-hour
So true.
equivalent.
I agree.
Pocket clown. Sorry, I just saw that on the...
I told him his mom was doing this to try and get us to skip our plans and spend the day with them. But he kept saying, it's not a big deal. Saying his mom promised it would only take a couple hours, etc., etc. I think most people know what happened. Husband went over first thing, which means no breakfast in bed, and I had to get up and feed the little guy. I was kind of pissed, but whatever. Spent time with the little guy, then he went down for his morning nap. I texted my husband to let him know he should start wrapping things up. Then when little guy woke up 2 hours later, I called husband to tell him I'd be ready to go as soon as I finished feeding the little guy. He told me it was taking longer than expected.
Yeah, those are them mulch hours.
Mulch
I
hours.
told you.
Everyone, yeah, Riley told us. But that he'd hurry. Like an hour and a half later, husband called and said they weren't done, but he was getting ready to come home. It's a 15 to 20 minute drive from mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. At that point, We missed the window to make it to the zoo. So I told him just stay there and finish and not worry about Mother's Day since he hadn't done a single thing I asked for. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind how pissed I was. A little later, his mom called and said, since we decided not to go to the zoo, that me and little guy should go hang out with her while the boys finished with the mulch. I admit that I was pretty pissy. And told her I had no interest in spending time with the people who decided to ruin my Mother's Day.
You know what? Slay.
Yeah.
A big swing, but a slay. I'll give it to
a
her.
Slay nonetheless. I ended up staying home and ordering a pizza and binging Netflix with the little guy. When husband got home, he was all apologetic and asked how he could make it up. I was still pissed and told him he could make it up by not ruining my first Mother's Day. I also told him he should plan on spending Father's Day with his mom and dad because me and the little guy were going to go celebrate Father's Day with my mom and dad. Since Mother's Day, mother-in-law has been texting and calling, but I've been keeping conversations short and just giving very bland, generic responses. I mean, honestly, it's incredibly rude. Like, this is her first Mother's Day with the little guy.
With the little guy.
They planned to go to the zoo, and he's not even there. You can't make it up. I mean, you can do another outing to the zoo next week.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same, though.
I think the only way that he could maybe fix this, Father's Day, he pretends it's Mother's Day.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing is like it's not going to be the same.
No.
There was something magical that happened with the giraffes that only happened on that day and will never happen again, but
At the zoo.
At the zoo. But you can still like it'd be nice to be like all those plans we missed.
Yeah.
Let's do them today. Because also too, it's essentially the same holiday as well. It's like we're both celebrating parentage.
Yeah, and we can make it Parent Day.
Parent Day.
My husband has been apologizing and asking what he can do, but honestly, I don't want to bother. I know it's just a day and we can celebrate any time like we did with my mom and mother-in-law, but it was my first ever Mother's Day. And it's not like I asked for anything expensive or difficult. The only difficult thing is he's incapable of setting boundaries with his mom, and she's incapable of considering anyone's feelings but her own. This past Saturday, he asked if I was still going to my parents, then said he'd like to go with us. I told him he could do whatever he wanted, but since I hadn't done anything for his dad, he might want to go see him or something. We did both end up going to my parents and spending the day with them. It was actually a nice day. My dad insisted on grilling because of course he did. But the weather ended up being nice and we spent a lot of time hanging out on the deck. I'm not sure what, if anything, my husband did for his dad. I know he was getting a lot of texts during the day, I assume from his mom. She did send me a snippy text saying it was hurtful to spend the day with my family at the expense of husbands. But I told her she got to spend Mother's Day with her baby boy. So it's only fair that I spend Father's Day with my family. I know my husband was hurt that we didn't acknowledge him for Father's Day. Boo-hoo. But I told him while we were driving to my parents' house that I'm just matching his energy. I admit that I haven't done anything to de-escalate the drama, but I'm still just so hurt he continues to prioritize his mom's feelings over our little family. This isn't the first time his mom has done crap like this, and I'm just so tired of it. She always oversteps and insists on doing what she wants. I'm doing better at keeping her at arm's length and holding my own boundaries, but my husband is absolutely incapable of that. Am I the a-hole? And there is an update, but what do you do? Is OP the a-hole? Should she focus on de-escalating the drama? How does she do it?
Yeah. And, you know, it's not like this on the woodworking subreddits.
It's really straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, she's not the a-hole,
No.
obviously.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if this was my first time here
Yeah,
and I was like,
a-hole.
yeah, she's the a-hole?
She sucks.
No,
Yeah.
but it's weird. It's like, I think you're allowed to be upset.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Those feelings are justified. And you're even allowed, like, she even kind of communicated, like, this is going to be the deal with Father's Day, you know, if
Ahead
you
of
want to
time.
spend it. I mean, the mother-in-law's the problem.
Yeah.
But I also do love her just being like, I'm also not de-escalating it. I'm like, at some point, everybody will probably have to wash their hands of it and do
Yes.
better. Like,
I
that's really
agree.
the thing, is he can do better next time.
And I think that she needs to have a conversation with him and say, like, hey, you have to kind of create boundaries with your mom because I do think it's a new feeling and you realize, oh, my family unit that I used to have is no longer the most important thing. It's now this new family unit with my partner and my child. And so I do think that's like a new kind of, you have to get used to it. And so I think just having a conversation with him and saying, I understand that you care for your family, but Now we are your priority. This weekend, the husband and I sat down and talked about everything. I expressed to him how incredibly upset and disappointed I was at how both Mother's Day and Father's Day went down. I really wanted to recognize and celebrate my husband for Father's Day every bit as much as I hoped he would recognize and celebrate me for Mother's Day. He said he knew he shouldn't have gone to his parents on Mother's Day, but didn't know what to do since his mom was pressuring him and saying if his dad got hurt, it would be husband's fault. He admitted that he knew he messed up and has been terrified that I was going to ask for a divorce. Dang. Since he cut to the chase, I told him that if this is how our life is going to be, I don't want to stay married to him.
Oh my God.
Dang. I explained to him that I realized that while, yes, I was upset about what happened on Mother's Day, that isn't what is making me feel this way. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. This kind of behavior from his mom has been happening since before we got engaged and has just escalated. This has been happening for years. As someone here suggested, I had listed all the times and events that I could remember that she had overstepped or just completely ruined. For our freaking honeymoon, she called him twice a day. Every morning to find out our plans for the day, and then every evening to hear how the day went. Plus the constant texting, asking for pictures, telling him how much she missed him. I don't know how I thought this was acceptable. She tried to make our wedding about herself, tried to make my pregnancy about herself, tried to take over when we brought our son home, just constantly inserting herself and overstepping. I told him that I don't really want to get divorced right now, but if it's going to happen anyway, I'd rather get divorced now while we can still do it amicably. Oh, y'all need therapy. You just had a kid.
Like, I want to be clear that it's not funny.
It's not funny.
But, like, there is something slightly amusing about, like, well, I don't really want to get a divorce, Sophia, but maybe now's the
as
time.
good as time as ever.
Yeah. Let's do it before we grow resentful of each other.
Before it's kind of
over
one of
the
those
little
hateful
guy.
divorces.
Why didn't you say I love you?
We're getting divorced. You didn't say I love you.
Yeah.
Because if nothing changes, I'm going to end up so angry and resentful that it would make divorce very contentious, and I don't want that for our son. At this point, we're both crying, upset, and emotional. So I told him that I'll give him some time to decide what he's going to do, but if I don't see clear effort being made to start prioritizing me and our son, that I'd move forward with the divorce, and the change has to continue. Every time we fought about this in the past, he promised he'll change. And sometimes he has. But then his mom pulls him back into her orbit. If we are to stay married, these are some of the things I'm insisting on in no particular order.
She's giving us the list.
She's got the list. We each own the relationship with our own parents. That means I'm not planning anything for his parents anymore. No cards, no presents, no brunches or parties, no pictures. Nothing. If his parents reach out to me, I'm going to redirect them to him. I'm not entertaining or visiting with his parents when he's not around. I'm not taking our son over to theirs by myself. And if they drop by, I'm not inviting them in unless my husband is there. I'm not changing my plans at the last minute just because they decided to drop by without coordinating with us in advance or because they want us to do something with them. Neither of us makes plans with our parents or accepts invitations until we discuss with our partner. And if we don't both agree that we don't do it, then we don't do it. And we don't throw each other under the bus. We just say something like, we checked our schedule and we're not available. Holidays like Christmas, Halloween, Easter, etc. are at our house. We can discuss inviting our parents, but we're not going to someone else's house to celebrate something involving our son when we can do it at home. Personally, I don't like that rule, but this is your rules. This includes his first birthday, which mother-in-law is trying to take over and plan. Other holidays, we're alternating between our parents, and we will focus on being present. That means no more texting and talking to his mom nonstop when we're with my parents. No more oversharing with mother-in-law. She doesn't need to know about our finances or health, medical issues, or vacation plans, or anything unless we both agree it's something we want to share. His visits to his parents can't be at the expense of spending quality time with me and our son. I don't mind him visiting his parents, but he's over there a couple times a week. We are his immediate family now. We should get priority. We're not doing things just because she said we should, and we're not changing our plans just because she doesn't like them. She really doesn't understand that wrong and different are not the same thing. In her mind, if we're not doing what she wants, how she wants, then we are in the wrong. He needs to go to therapy with someone specializing in enmeshment, and we need to start going to couples therapy. I didn't even realize I have so much pent up resentment that I can't look at my husband the same anymore. I realized that from this story. I'm just angry at him all the time, and I hate being this way. When it comes to our son, our word, husband and me, is law. If she disregards or minimizes our decisions for our son, then she loses access until she learns to behave. When me or my husband say no to either set of parents, the other person will support them and back them up. That means my husband has to stop trying to get me to agree with his mom all the time. By the way, you should agree to listen to more full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there's a little bit left to the story. Do you think OP's rules for engagement are effective, too far, not far enough?
I think they're coming from an understandable place. I feel like I'm always just kind of middle of the roading it down here, but it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, it's always coming from a pretty understandable place.
Yeah.
Some of them get a little particular.
Yeah.
But if it works, it works.
If it works, it works. I think these rules are maybe a good starting place, but I think when they go to therapy, talking about them to kind of get the therapist's view on it and seeing if, because my only worry is that they said that these rules are for both sets of parents, but because the problem lies with her mother, there going to be kind of an imbalance? And that's the only thing I worry about. But the mother-in-law is a problem that does need to be addressed. I can tell he's freaked out and really stressed about the idea of putting hard boundaries in place or distancing from his parents. And I do feel for him. He said he feels like he's caught between a rock and a hard place, and that me and his mom are both putting a ton of pressure on him and both have conflicting expectations. And that's fine. He just needs to understand that I'm not tolerating this anymore. I know this will cause an absolute crap storm with his parents, but I feel like if we don't do it now, it'll just be harder down the road. What does everyone think? Am I being unreasonable? Are there other boundaries we should put in place? And that, folks, is the end of that story.